What's up guys, it's Daz here, but you don't really care, as it's the Christmas season so gifts are everywhere. What did you get? What do you want? Perhaps a console, perhaps a bike, maybe even a pet, a dog, a cat, how about a Pokemon? Sounds like a good gift to me. I mean, imagine if the Pokemon world was real. You could have your very own Oddish. Aw, look at it bury itself and sow seeds at night time. Sounds cute and cuddly, right? Wrong. The Pokemon world would be a disaster. Here's why. This video is focusing on Generation 1, but I may do others if the demand is high enough. So let's begin with the general concept. You collect animals and make them fight each other, and while people like Peter will obviously draw the line here, it makes the Pokemon happy, so it's just a way of life in the Pokemon world. If anything, it teaches loyalty, companionship, and growing as a person, but what about the individual Pokemon? Well, let's start with the starters. Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. Looking at their Pokedex entries, they seem pretty innocent. Bulbasaur's nutritious seed grows on its back over time. Aww. As an Ivysaur, if their seeds smell sweet, it will bloom soon. And as Venusaur, the flowers absorb sun rays through photosynthesis and give it power, just like any other plant. Squirtle shelters itself in its shell and strikes back with spouts of water. Hostile, but not too threatening. Wartortle is said to live to 10,000 years, with its furry tail being a popular symbol of longevity. What about Blastoise? It crushes foes under its heavy body to cause fainting. Oh. Charmander? When its fire on its tail goes out, it dies. Morbid. Charmeleon lashes out with its tail and tears up fallen opponents with sharp claws. Charizard expels a blast of super hot fire. Can you see where I'm going with this? These Pokemon are becoming vicious and terrifying, and they're only the starters. And they're not even the worst of the Pokemon on this list. Let's start quite subtly with the early Pokemon. Shouldn't be too much of a threat, right? Rattata. If you see one, there's certain to be 40 more. Ugh. Raticate can knock down entire concrete buildings. Now sure, there are some passive ones. Butterfree loves honey and can find pollen even in small patches. Metapod protects its body with Harden. But good God, Beedrill is 3 feet tall! That's a meter! No! Imagine how people would react to these Pokemon in our world. Say goodbye to all Rhyhorns, they'll probably be endangered for the hunts for their horns, which by the way, a Rhyhorn doesn't stop charging until it falls asleep and can easily knock a trainer away. Sounds like a Team Rocket reference to me, but still, there's a concussion for ya. Any rare Pokemon will be poached for money. Say goodbye to Mew, and Mewtwo, and Dragonite, and Clefairy, and probably many more. Not to mention Shinies, oh my god! Lapras is already endangered, and I bet there's no hope for Starmie, whose stone is valued as a gem to some and can glow 7 colours. It's also believed to be from space. So, aliens! Oh, but there's more! With the technology of the Pokemon world, we can now bring fossils to life with Omanyte, Omstar, and Kabuto. Wouldn't be long before we have a full-blown dinosaur to worry. Oh. Did you know Aerodactyl goes for throat with its serrated fangs? Lovely. Not to mention, all these Pokemon have a variety of attacks, not just physical, but elemental too. So be sure to protect yourself from non-stop tsunamis and tornadoes. I mean, Pokemon flat out control the weather. Pikachu and Zapdos can cause savage thunderstorms and control lightning bolts freely. Articuno can cause snow and blizzards. Diglett can trigger earthquakes. Diglett! Electabuzz eats electricity and causes city-wide blackouts. Magnemite is fatal to all mechanical devices, so if you have a pacemaker... Whoops! Gyarados can demolish entire cities in a rage. And, well, Magikarp can't really hurt us, so that's nice, but oh my god, it can leap over mountains after enough years! Yeah, speaking of mountains, do you know how a Golem jumps from mountain to mountain? Self-destruct. And they're not the only Pokemon to do it. You've got Voltorb, Electrode, and probably more. The list goes on and on. I mean, look at Eevee with its unstable DNA. Bet those things will be captured by the dozen and painfully tested on for DNA research. Isn't that nice to know? Little baby fox thing. Zapped with zapper lasers. Needles. It's nice. Let's look at its evolutions. Flareon has a breath that can reach 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and Jolteon can hit 10,000 volts. That's death. And not even the worst of it, Raichu can hit 10,000 as well. And 100,000! That can faint an Indian elephant, which is somehow in the Pokemon world already and is mentioned multiple times. I mean, apparently Ghastly can engulf one with its gas and knock them out in 2 seconds. Oh yeah, Ghost Pokemon. At least you can be certain what happens after death. That's nice to know in a world covered in it. I mean, Haunter saps life out of its victims with a single lick, and Gengar pretends to be your shadow, and is believed to be the shadow of Clefairy to some. You know, that Pokemon that you would think would justify living in this world just to see, but actually it hides away from people when it senses them. Yeah, after surviving the horrors of so many Pokemon, the nice and pretty ones hide from you. Bummer! And imagine how some Pokemon will act with our animals. Mankey is unsafe to approach and is too fast to escape from if angered. Primeape gets so furious constantly that it won't stop chasing you until you're a beaten pulp. No monkeys in our world, I bet. Pinsir will try and crush you with its pincers. That sounds, you know, pretty expected. But if it fails, it will swing you around and toss you. Hard. Tauros is more of a violent bull, not stopping its charge, and Kangaskhan gets violently enraged if you approach its young. Much like an elephant, I guess. A female Nidoran's poison is fatal with 1 drop. And how about Paris and Parasect? Literally being zombified by fungus, although it is based off of a real infection. Imagine that coming to humans, getting all the Last of Us in here. Speaking of the humans, there's also that theory that the trainers are partially Pokemon. I mean, look at all those telekinetic psychics, and heck, one Kadabra was said to be a child with powerful sensory abilities once, and woke up as a Kadabra one morning. Feel inferior yet? Now I'd better start to stop with this list since time is running short, but I will mention these two in regards to travel, since obviously in the modern world we still have cars and trains and all that fun stuff. Rapidash can reach 150 miles an hour, and cannot resist chasing anything fast, trains and cars included, so that's gonna be nice to see. Many dead Rapidash, or at least dead people getting hit by speeding Rapidashes, that's nice. And Snorlax, he who kills by crushing. How's that for an inconvenience in the road? Not to mention, all the dead creatures in the tall grass. No Pokemon Center for them, though it would be nice to have that kind of instant advanced medicine. Would be great for wars. Which I bet there would be tons of, by the way. Full-blown Pokemon wars. Plus, even more subtle terrorist attacks could be a thing. I mean, look at Gale of Darkness. You literally get put to sleep by a gloom and have your Pokemon snatching device stolen. Could be far worse than that, I bet. Now, looking at all these lethal creatures and seeing how each generation seems to be split into different regions, despite some being based in more specific countries like France or Japan, in the real world, I think most would probably be placed in Australia. So that begs the question, would you risk your life and go to Africa to become a trainer? And also, if you had to choose a death by Pokemon, which would you choose and why? Anyway, with that nightmarish fuel out of the way, enjoy the holiday. And don't get yourself killed out there. My name's been... I mean Daz. You didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.